I think that's, yeah, it's spot on. I mean, knowing that why is super important. Again, mindset. Again, if we don't have the right mindset, then none of this feels achievable, I'll say.
Yeah, totally.
Yeah, and I think this has been a great topic. I do, I would love for us to kind of move into the positive change part of the conversation, because we're sort of already talking about this too, right? If you think about self-care, and like, we talked about going to the gym, like and having that positive change physically, but really like sparking positive change in our communities, right, around us, and community. What I mean by that, and I think that the topic, right, it's more of, it can be anywhere. When I say community, it doesn't have to be in the city that you live in. It could be your community on X, on social media. It can be anywhere. It doesn't necessarily have to be this like your city, right, or your neighborhood. Because when I think of community, the first thing I think of is, well, we have a neighborhood association here. Like, of course, like we just go there and we recycle cans on the weekend, and I'm having like it's more than that. It's broader than that. I'd love to hear your thoughts on kind of like community engagement and why it's important to really make these positive changes.
Yeah, I think, man, community engagement is such a broad concept, because like you're saying, there's so many different communities in your life, and everybody has different ones. You can have a spiritual community, you can have a local community, you can have a digital community, you can have, all different kinds of niche communities that you're a part of, identity community, like all kinds of things that people are a part of, right? And so there's a lot of ways to make positive change within a lot of different communities.
Absolutely.
And again, I think this is something that's so personal to people, because what you spend your time on and what you give back to is usually it's almost like visceral. It's like it's inside of you. It's something that just is so near and dear to you, and it's just very personal. So yeah, so there's a lot of communities that you can look at, and there's a lot of different things that you can do within those communities to spark that change for people, and allow things to trickle out to more people.
Yeah, for sure, for sure. And I think of like, like where we spend our time, where we spend our energy, that really does, I think, tell a story, right? And if you think about, we spend, like, I know we spend time on spaces, and we learn from one another, on X, and we grow in that way, and that community. And also, I have this story to tell about community engagement, because not that long ago, and again, just I'm thinking more of just the city or the area where I live, but there was this act of vandalism that occurred in town, or in our neighborhood, like a few blocks away, and it it really affected us, right? Because like we live in an area where I'm not saying that crime doesn't happen, but it happens. It's a big deal when it happens in our neighborhood, and so we we helped to repaint over this home, the vandalism at this home. And what ended up happening was the group that did the painting, or the repainting, so to speak, we felt almost compelled in a positive way to expand that to, okay, now that we're done with this house, what other house in the neighborhood has some sort of vandalism that hasn't been restored or fixed, or and we started thinking, like, we started like sort of creating this sort of I don't know, like this sort of network of like, what other home might need like maybe a little extra fencing, or what. We started like really asking ourselves, what other help can we actually provide to our community. It started like, it was almost like a brainstorming session that occurred while or after we just contributed to this fix. And so again, I just one story to tell about how sometimes when you just start on this community engagement, or this sort of effort to improve your local community, it can bring even bigger and better things.
Absolutely. And it does, when you do something for your community in whatever way that looks like for you, it does make you want to do more. I'll tell you this, don't get started with community engagement if you don't want to become obsessed with community engagement.
There you go.
Because it's really true. That's true. I
Yeah,
can't tell you,
it's
like,
addicting.
it's really addicting. Like when you see that you can actually make a difference in things, it gets wild. And I do it in a lot of different ways, like it's like as a business owner, it's like I give back 10% of my profits every single year to local organizations. I've been able to give over $10,000 like for multiple years, like to local youth and to cancer patients, and to things that are dear to me. And I've also created a program for bullied teens, that I worked with, like another organization locally, who does a lot of work with bullied teenagers. And I myself was, bullied as a kid, and I know what that does to people. And so I have something that can help people with their confidence. So I have a program where I give free skincare and free skin advice and consultations to teens who can't maybe necessarily get access to it any other way. And I had my local merchants association. I created it because we needed it and we didn't have one. And it's like, and so I help all the business owners connect with the city, and I help the city connect with the business owners, and I'm on lots of like city committee. It's ridiculous, like you just start being like, I'm gonna do it all. And then it's like, and then
Yep.
visually it's like there's a whole other piece there where it's like I've got lots of great community on digital, and I'm helping lots of people in ways there. And I'm telling you, it's like all you want to do when you do it and you see it working is do it more.
Absolutely, absolutely. There's some sort of like magnetism or attraction, right? And you sort of want to continue to do that, and it sort of ties into volunteerism in my mind, right? When I think about that, like what you're doing is you're giving your time and your energy to these to these groups or to the communities without really expecting a whole lot like in return, right? Like the goal isn't I'm doing this for a transactional concern or for some sort of matter like that, right? It's more of I want to continue to bring that positive change, which is what we're talking about here, right? I want to contribute. I want to give and to support, especially those who may be less fortunate, right? And I think of the volunteerism piece where this past Friday, thankfully I work at a place full time where we have regular monthly days where we are expected to spend the day volunteering or doing something to improve the lives of others, right? And get your step away from the computer for the day and do something for your community, basically. And so this past Friday, I was part of this group that went and we repackaged diapers. Turns out diapers are a luxury item, and the less fortunate, those who use food stamps, can't purchase diapers on food stamps because they're considered that luxury item. So there's a bunch of different reasons why it sort of resonates as something that I wanted to help contribute to. So we basically took these donated diapers and repackaged them into certain like numbered groupings so that way they can hand them out at regular intervals to people who are less fortunate who need them. And it's one of those the things that like when you're in the middle of it, especially, you don't realize like time flies. Like we spent only a few hours, like 2 or 3 hours doing it. But when you're there with other people, especially, and you're giving back and you're contributing, I mean, the time flies, you're enjoying yourself. And then it's sort of like it's a lasting glow that sort of you feel afterward. I don't know if you've ever felt that, but it's the sort of like buzz that it kind of continues for a while. And it's addicting. Like you sort of like, wait a minute, I want to do this again. I want to do this next Friday. I want to do this every week. I don't want to wait once a month.
Yeah, absolutely. It's like, it's so true. I mean, you know, I have people all over the country using my skincare, right? And I get messages every single day from people who tell me like, "Oh my gosh, like, you've changed my life. You've changed my life. You've changed my skin. Everything is better. Like I feel so much better." All kinds of great stuff, which I love. I love waking up to it in the morning, like when I get to my stuff and I'm like, I see things from people. I'm like, this is amazing. Every day, I'm telling you, it's amazing. And and so it's really great to hear that stuff. And what's better is like when I'm in, for example, like a consult with a teen, right? who this is something that I'm just doing, right? I'm not getting anything from this at all. I'm giving everything away. And so, but then when I'm done and right, and they go out and they actually do what they need to do, and then like they contact me and they're like, oh my gosh, I'm so changed. It's like, there's nothing like it. There's literally nothing like it. You're like, I know what this, and you're like, when you're sitting in the console with them, you're like, I know what this is going to do for you. And I can't wait
Mhm.
for you to send me a message telling me how good you feel. You know what I'm
Yeah,
saying? Like, and it's like, and when it happens and you're like, this is awesome. You know, so it's like, yeah, I mean, and you just want to do it more. You are like, it's enthralling, honestly, to be a part of. And it's an honor to be able to like do stuff like that.
for sure, for sure. I think it's again that feeling like, you know, when you know that you're going to do something that's going to really change the lives of people. And this is not really, I don't think that's overstating it either, right? Like what you're talking about is something that when you're giving of yourself, you're giving your time, and you're contributing to a conversation, and you're helping somebody overcome an obstacle, and you're giving something back, and again, not expecting anything in return. You're doing this, and it's you, when you know that it's going to actually have a positive impact in someone's life. There's not a better feeling than that, in my opinion, because it's almost, I wouldn't say it's a guarantee, but when you know that that's something that you have to offer is going to really make that change in someone's life, that again, like there's nothing that compares. And it's because there's so many things that I think we know, like when we've experienced things, we've been let down, like, oh well, I expected this experience to be like this, and it completely was the opposite. But this is an example of when you have something like genuine that you can bring, and you know, again, like whether it's an experience, like a story you can tell that kind of help provide empathy to someone and show them that you actually understand what they're going through, or just, you know, again, it's volunteering at a local food shelter, or you know, some sort of food kitchen, or a soup kitchen. There are a variety of ways to where you can really give back and have that just again, have that change, spark that change, and be that light that someone needs.
Yeah, for sure. It's like, yeah, it is. It's true. There's so many opportunities to do it, and there's something for everybody when it comes to that too. You know, like, and I'm telling you, if you haven't spent any time looking for opportunities to spark positive change in someone else, once you have your own act together, right? Because it's really important that you do that first.
I love that.
But once you do and you have that opportunity, if you haven't tried to do something like that, I mean, do it, because like you'll see what a change it makes for you. Like again, it's like not even it's not a transactional thing. Like I'm going to do this because of that, but there is a cool developmental change that happens to you once you start giving back to other people, you know? So it's like, so there, and that like, just like then changes other things that you help other people with. And then that like changes and it's like, it's this amazing cycle, right? Like where it's like, you just keep getting more to give more.
Yeah, it's like a cascade, but a positive cascade, right? And what you're describing, I was thinking about something a minute ago about when you were talking about how it's yeah, people sometimes might not even know where to begin. Like, say somebody's listening to this and they say, you know what, like that all sounds well and good, but I live in this town here, and I don't know like where to start, where to begin. What are some, you know, how can you help me? There's no way I can spark some sort of positive change in my community. Like, what would you say to somebody who maybe doesn't know where to begin?
Yeah, I'm gonna say this. I live in a small town, you know, not a super small town, but I live in a small town, and so I'm not in the city, so there's that. So right, so like already there's lots of opportunities with outside of a city if that's somebody feeling like they're like they have that hindrance. Um, there's a lot of ways to do it, but even something as small as talking to your cashier at the grocery store,
Love
being
that.
kind to the bagger, right? It's like, it's those things are so imperative and they really change people's days. Like, This is something I love about my son. I have a son who's almost, he'll be 19 next year. It scares the hell out of me to say that out loud.
Yeah.
I try not to say like he'll be, and I always end up doing it. And then I'm like, dang it, he's 18. And and that even in itself is scary, but
Yeah.
he's 18. And it's so funny. When he was little, he would always talk to like everybody. And people would be like, you need to tell him to stop, like stop on. And I'm like, no, I don't, because he's gonna have excellent interpersonal skills when he gets older. And it's like, lo and behold, he does. And he talks to everyone. And he has just such a like innocent way about him in his dealings with people, like, grocery store cashiers and people bagging his groceries, or like, just random people like that he meets out and about, homeless people. He actually has a really soft spot for homeless people, and he's always constantly communicating with them. It's like, and I watch it and I see it, and I see how people get lit up just by him taking a moment to say something to them. So it's like, so there's always something that you can do to create a positive change in someone around you, even if you can't offer them something, even if, maybe you feel like there aren't any volunteer opportunities. Like, the smallest of things can go a very long way.
Absolutely, Amber. I think that what you're describing, it's sort of it reminds me that, and hopefully it reminds people that what we're talking about here doesn't have to be something super complex. It can be the simple conversation with, like I said, the local cashier at the grocery store. It could be, being kind to somebody at your post office, right? Like, and giving them some grace in your interactions because they've had a bad day. Like that might restore their faith in humanity after a really tough day or morning or whatever the case may be. Like something like that even can really have these benefits that we may not even see. And I try to remind people that we live in this world where it's easy to say, I did this and this was the result of that, when like there's probably a bunch of other different factors that were a part of why it turned out that way, right? Like we like to attribute ourselves. It's attribution bias, I think, is what it's called. Like we this is the reason why this happened. It's like, actually, like that we're part of it, but we're not probably the only thing that caused it to happen. So like it's sort of worth remembering that like we're talking about some of these things that could be really, really small, simple things. We're not talking about this idea that you need to have this like plan of how you're going to really spread this positive change in your community. It can be something straightforward, simple, basic, and there's nothing wrong with that.
Yeah, and you never know what kind of seeds you're planting.
Yeah, I think that's a great point, and I think a lot of people, again, I myself included, like if you would have asked me this, like I said, go back to the beginning, 5-10 years ago, community engagement, what the heck? Like, I can't even think about that. Like, I can barely even manage. Like I said, I tell people this all the time. I can barely remember what I had for lunch yesterday. Like, I don't even know what I'm going to have for lunch tomorrow. Like, what, how can I be engaged in my community? I barely, like, my own like little circle here feels like it's spiraling out of control. So I think it's just, again, it can be something small, simple. It doesn't have to be, again, those seeds that you talk about that are planted can really be what changes somebody's life. And I have one more story, like one more analogy that sort of kind of ties into this. And I think I may have told you this one, but there's this greenway nearby where we live here, and people run around it. They ride their bikes on it. It actually goes around a golf course, actually, and it's really cool. But the thing I was telling is that I used to run this thing, like run around it a couple times. It's like a 3-mile loop or whatever. And once I was running it, and this person was running in the opposite direction, and just was smiling and waving at me. And I'm like, from a distance, I'm like, I'm looking around like, who is this person? Why are they waving at me? I don't recognize them. And so she runs around again, and apparently she was way faster than I was, and then did it again. And I'm like, do I don't know you, but okay, wave back. And then that was it. That was our entire interaction. The rest of that day, though, I felt like I was a celebrity. I was like, whoever this person was thought I was like Joseph Gordon-Levitt or something. I mean, clearly somebody thought I was famous, they thought they knew me. Like, and I just had this, again, this feeling of importance that I hadn't felt in a while. And again, like that's the type of thing, right? It's like, you know, again, and you know why I chose that specific celebrity, but the thing is, something like that can be a game changer for someone. And again, like it doesn't have to be a really complex or complicated change that you make or that you do. A smile to somebody who's, you know, the barista who's handing you your coffee at the coffee shop, like that can be it, right? It doesn't have to be super doesn't have to be something over the top, I would say.
Yeah, I mean, if I was running alongside Jordan Gordon Lorden, I would also be waving. It's so funny when you said the thing about, you know, oh, I run around this thing. In my mind, okay, I did the wow emoji. Like, like if we were in spaces, like when you said it, I was like, wow, you're running around all of that? Like, good for you, bro. In my mind, I was like, wow. Anyways,
Yeah.
emoji.
You're living in the emojis universe, right?
That's amazing.
Yeah, no, but that, again, like I think what we're talking about here, it's helpful. I think, and I think hopefully it's helpful for other people listening and watching that again want to know. Again, when we talked about self-care, right? We talked about the importance of that and how people can start to incorporate that into daily life. Simple things like even drinking water is step one, right? Getting enough sleep, step two. Like I think is important. When I realized how important sleep was, it was sort of a game changer as well. So the importance of that, you know, and maybe your mileage may vary. If somebody can get away with 5 or 6 hours a night, more power to you. I need a little more than that right now, but I'm getting better. And again, the magnesium butter that you talked about, like, I mean, there's so many things that people can start to really investigate and explore. So I encourage people who are watching, listening, to do your own research, do some homework. Hopefully what we've shared has given you something to kind of start you on your journey. And then the sparking the positive change in the communities. Again, I think what we're talking about here on this topic, as we kind of get closer to wrapping up, it's worth remembering that we're not talking about trying to change the world yet, right? Like, I mean, you can change the world. It's what you said earlier, Amber. It's take every day and build upon those improvements day after day, and it will compound over time. Mm-hmm. That's what I would say is kind of the takeaway on both parts of this podcast episode, is that when we're talking about self-care or community, sparking positive change in your community, think about it as a journey and not, or a marathon and not a sprint, is what I would say for an analogy here. You're not trying to make something happen, or you shouldn't try to make something happen immediately. Like it can be just these small, simple steps and go from there.
Yeah, I think that's the most important thing that you need to remember, is that it's taking small steps, right? It's putting yourself first, taking care of yourself first, and taking small steps to do that. And then, looking for ways that you can make change. And it's, again, taking small steps to do that. So it really is those small steps in either vein that will help you to get to something bigger and broader, and and making more of an impact in both your own life and the life of others.
Yeah, I think that's a perfect summary right there, an encapsulation of what we're talking about. We're talking about the personal, and then outside of the personal world, right, outside of that realm as well. And so I think that's a great way to wrap. I would love to let you have the rest. You kind of talk a little more about where people can find you on the socials, maybe give you some last parting words. Amber, I want you're the special guest on the season finale of season 1 of Ignite That Light. So you deserve the floor for the next however many minutes you need to say what you want to say.
Yeah, I mean, again, I am so honored to be your season finale. I really truly am. It's amazing to be a part of this. I'm excited for what you have coming for your project, and just so many amazing projects and collaborations that I'm seeing all over the place, especially on X. It's a wild place. I gotta tell you, you guys, if you're listening and you're not on there, give it a go. I'm telling you, you will meet some really amazing people.
Oh yes.
Truly, and you can like curate. I think people have a lot of averse reaction to it just based on what maybe they've known in the past about it. And trust me, I was the same way. I had an account that lied dormant for years, until I was like, let me give it a shot again and just stay away from all the negativity. And guess what, friends? It has changed my life truly, and I really think it's changing lives in a really cool way. So if you're not on there, check it out. And if you are on there, you can find me at Champagne's Brain, and you get what you pay for here. The handle really says what it means. I give you what's in my brain, and so you can find me there. You can, you can go to. I do have, like I said, an apothecary full of holistic wellness, all kinds of great stuff that can help you make little changes in your life. And that website is champagneapothecary.com. So just my last name and then apothecary, which I know is a wild word, but I'm sorry, I really like it. It doesn't make it easy, but that's where it is. And I'm sure Chris will help you out with wherever that link is.
There you go.
Yeah, and you can find skincare there. My skincare line is named Ethist, and you can find us on like Instagram and Facebook and all that stuff too, from that perspective. But yeah, I mean, it's I'm there if anybody has any questions about anything specifically that has to do with herbalism, aesthetics, any of that stuff that I do. I'm always happy and willing to answer questions. If you do find me on X, come to my spaces. Let's talk.
Yeah, I vouch for Amber Champagne Spaces. They are amazing, and she's an amazing guest, an amazing person. I'm super grateful for the connection, Amber. I really am, and I can't say enough positive things about you and about our interactions. And just again, I learn from you every single time we have a conversation. So thank you so much for being here and being the season finale guest here. And yeah, we'll have another conversation in season 2, I'm sure. So,
awesome. I can't wait. Thank you
so much. Yep. Bye.